Hey everyone, for those who don't know me, I'm a dancer, a teacher, a filmmaker. I love to game and I love to empower other artists. I normally don't speak about political topics, but in this current climate, I don't think anyone can really afford to remain silent any longer. And today I would like to talk about Make America Great Again. More so, I would like to talk about the legacy of Make America Great Again. And I think it's something that a lot of people aren't really looking at. A lot of people are looking at the immediate problems and they're talking about parallels with other historical figures, but we're not talking about the direct legacy and what it's going to mean for the generations to come. History has repeatedly shown us what the effects are of unchecked hatred and how poorly it reflects on our kids. Just look at Ilse Koch from the Second World War, known as the Witch of Buchenwald. She used to skin Jewish prisoners alive and she would fashion their skin into lampshades, preferring tattooed skin over normal skin. Ilse Koch continued to run the Buchenwald concentration camp, and by the time the war had ended, her kids had to deal with the stigma, not just of having been Nazi collaborators, but the stigma and legacy of her mother committing monstrous atrocities and inhumane practices during the Second World War. No surprise, Ilse Koch's son Artwin Koch died from suicide in 1964, less than 20 years since the war had ended. And this is not a one-off either. Gudrun Himmler, Himmler's daughter, her entire life was consumed with trying to rehabilitate her father's image. Baldur Furshirach, pardon me if I butchered his name, his son, Richard, was judged his entire life for his father's crimes. Peter Shurovsky's book, Born Guilty, documents tons of testimonies from the children of Nazis dealing with problems like depression, anxiety, guilt, denial, and tons of other problems that come with that legacy. And that is a legacy that we're now seeing being repeated. MAGA, I get it. You say you love your children. You're voting in your children's best interest. You're doing everything you can, for a better word, for your kids. But I would urge you to remember that history rarely rewards us for the graciousness we show our friends, but it always condemns us by the lack of grace we show our enemies. Case in point, Charlie Kirk. Am I gonna miss Charlie Kirk? I'm not gonna lie. No, I'm not. Do I feel bad for his wife? Also no. She chose to make her bed with a man who spouted nothing but hate. Who do I feel bad for? Charlie Kirk's kids. Think of this, Charlie Kirk's kids are now 3 and 1 years old. They're gonna grow up their entire lives without a dad, without a chance to know who their dad was, and before long they're gonna be hearing stuff like, hey, isn't your dad that guy who got shot because he hated everyone? Imagine what that's gonna do to the identity of these two children. This is the legacy that Kirk left his children. And if you have any doubt that that's going to happen, look at the comments section right now on pretty much every video that has anything to do with Charlie Kirk at the moment. 99% of it says he deserved it. He spouted nothing but hate. He was a hateful guy. Hate got to him. And that's the thing that people forget about how legacy and karma works. Karma seldomly works like, ooh, I punched someone today, so tomorrow somebody punches me. That type of instant karma is very rare. Karma much more frequently works like Hitler creates mass genocide, and then for 100 years, every German is afraid to hang up their flag in front of their house, even when their kids graduate, because hanging up the German flag becomes associated with the word Nazi. MAGA is in incredible danger that the exact same stigma is going to fall on the word MAGA. 60 years from now, people are going to look at MAGA's kids and their grandkids and say, weren't your parents those nut jobs that followed that crazy authoritarian with no brains whatsoever? Is that what you want people to say to your kids? That is the question that I think all of you should ask yourself, and none of you are. You can make every MAGA follower filthy rich beyond belief, but if you do it by ripping away immigrants from their kids without due process and tearing down every value that America has held dear for several centuries, then your legacy for the next 100 years or more is going to be, oh, you guys are the kids from those nut people. Your parents were crazy. This is a legacy I think none of us should want for any of our children. Really don't believe me? Then ask yourself this question. When you say Hitler or Nazi Germany, do you think of these things? Employment recovery, Autobahn network, the Volkswagen project, rocketry and science, and national pride? I don't hear anyone talking about that stuff when they talk about Hitler, but they do talk about the Holocaust, World War II, totalitarian state, eugenics experimentation, and cultural destruction. And that is something that you're not grasping. Yeah, I'm sure MAGA has a lot of good ideas in their somewhere, or we're not seeing them because there's so much hate coming out of there. But the hate that is coming out of there is so fierce and so strong that everything you're going to be known for in the next 100 years is pure negative. You're playing with a future where the word MAGA is going to be just as bad as the word Nazi. And if you're wondering just how bad that is, the N-word in Europe isn't the N-word in the States that you use to describe an African American. The N-word in Europe is Nazi. You want to make someone really angry and make him your enemy for life? Genuinely call him a Nazi. And I'm already seeing that if an American comes to Europe or Holland or anywhere and you say, "Are you a MAGA?" you're going to piss off that American very quick. So it's already in motion. But hey, that's what I wanted to say about it. I think that all people have good reasons for believing what they want to believe. I'm sure even the white supremacists and black supremacists, all these people have a core area where there's a sense of, oh, there's something you want to accomplish. Maybe you're trying to bring more jobs to your group of people, whatever that may be. But remember, Hitler was a vegetarian painter at heart, of all things. He applied for the arts college in vain twice, was rejected twice, and finally became the puppet of hate. And that is something that you're also not realizing. Hitler himself wasn't the core source of all that hate. He just banked on it, which is the exact same thing Trump is doing. He is banking on the hate of every MAGA follower that somehow feels wronged or unjust. As a final closer, I would like to add one of the greatest presidents of our time. I'm half American, pardon me there. And that would be Abraham Lincoln. He was a white man, came from modest beginnings, and he was addicted to learning. He was a self-taught lawyer, ended up becoming fairly wealthy and trying his luck on politics. He saw the slaves and saw a group of people that were also from very humble beginnings, even worse than Lincoln, but they lacked the very basic freedom to even try and fight for a better life than the one that they came from. They were completely trapped, and it pissed Lincoln off. So Lincoln went and he abolished slavery. And what did it cost him? Absolutely everything. And he had nothing to gain from freeing the slaves. That's something I think you need to remember. He was a white man, a lawyer with a career in politics that died freeing slaves. That is an incredible legacy for every American to live up to. And unfortunately, right after Lincoln was assassinated, the white supremacy groups tried to fight back hard, and you ended up with segregation, which was, some argue, even worse than slavery, for nearly 100 years. Now we're having a similar problem. We just had the first African-American president, Barack Obama, again, one of the most qualified presidents America has ever seen, who did a lot of good work for everyone and tried to make everyone work together. And right after he was president, white supremacy's anger flared back up, and now we have another problem, and you're facing a second form of segregation thanks to all this hate that you can't seem to let go of. And again, that hate is going to be transferred to your kids. Even by your own belief system, which is Christian, at least most of you are, the Bible itself says the sins of the father are visited on by the son. And we've mentioned this before with karma. Karma rarely works like you hit someone today, someone hits you tomorrow. That's not how it works. Otherwise, after Charlie Kirk got shot, someone else would have gotten shot on the very day afterwards. Don't do that, please. That's a bad idea. The point is, pretty much every book that works on philosophy or spirituality of any kind preaches the sins of the father will be visited on the son. So all the hate that MAGA is casting now will put a veil on all your kids. And again, that is not something any of you, it's not something I want as a teacher that teaches kids. I find it horrible to think what all our kids are going to be going through, and I wish it was something that you would all ask yourselves right now, because if MAGA doesn't do a strong 180 really soon, America's kids will be the next to be